Today, we've got something that a lot of people have asked me about. Where can I go online and kind of estimate how long I am going to test positive for THC for? The guys over at Exploro have developed a THC detection time estimator based on a number of different questions. Now, full disclosure, I work very closely with the guys over at Exploro. They have asked me to kind of test this out, see what I think, give them some feedback. This calculator is basically just for informational purposes only. We cannot guarantee, and I'm not guaranteeing that the results that I'm going to show you are going to be the same results that you will see on an official test. It's kind of more just for informational and educational purposes. Now, first things first is I've played around with this a little bit. I haven't calculated anything yet, but I've entered some information in previously. So like my age will just pre-populate, which is pretty neat. So I'm 46. And again, the first thing up here is we can toggle between metric units, centimeters, kilograms, and imperial feet and pounds. I am in the United States. We are still one of the only countries in the world. I think there's just a couple countries that still use feet and pounds, but we do. So that's what I'm going to do here. I am 6'1" male. And they just give you the two options, male or female, straightforward. Activity level. Now, this first person is going to be very active, a kind of a lighter user, pretty fit and pretty healthy. So I'm going to go with very active. And then I am about 165 pounds. I probably could have just entered that in, but instead I'm just going to scroll up here, about 165. And I'll keep all of this information the same: age, gender, height, weight, and I'll just change basically how fit and active the person is and how frequently they use. So this person, let's just say they've got a drug test coming up. They just found out about it. They just stopped, let's say 2 days ago. So today's the 29th of August. We're going to put in the 27th of August, and we'll keep this the same between both examples I'm going to do here. The frequency use is obviously very important. Let's say I was not a very heavy user, maybe once a week. But I've been using once a week for many years, and that's going to be most people anyway. It'd be unfair for me to say that I pick an example where somebody just picks it up and now they've got a drug test coming up. If you use THC marijuana, it's probable that you've used it for an extended period of time. So I'm going to keep 2 years here for both examples, but this person is kind of a light user, once a week user. The product is they're going to smoke, and this does matter a little bit. Edibles are going to be different than flowered, just based on potency, but I'm smoking here because that's, again, most common. And then dosage matters here a little bit too. I'm just going to keep this here as medium for both examples as well. And then lifestyle factors. And this does matter here. Now, why does alcohol or nicotine use on top of using THC marijuana? Why do those two things matter? And it's because they take up some of the bandwidth or the workload of your liver. So instead of your liver being able to dedicate fully to detoxing THC, if you drink on top of it, your liver basically has to split duties between detoxing the alcohol and detoxing the THC, and nicotine as well, same thing. So it could extend the time that it actually takes for your liver to detox if you use alcohol and or use nicotine. So don't use alcohol and don't smoke. One of the things I'm going to give them as far as feedback, just by looking at this, is we need to hone in more on how, and this is, I'm just being honest here, how overweight the person is, how much body fat they have, because that's the number one thing that's going to affect their detox time on a urinalysis. So I'm going to say that my diet is clean and healthy, but really the diet and the activity level, I'm kind of meaning how overweight or in shape that I'm in. So this person is in pretty good shape is kind of what I'm going with here. So fit and active, there's all my statistics. Just stopped used once a week when I was using. I believe if they stopped using, they will test negative in between 1 to 2 weeks. So that's going to be my guess. Let's see what they say as far as when I calculate. They have 7 to 9 days. So they give two estimates here, which is nice. The 50 nanogram per milliliter cutoff, which is, again, they have it right there as a standard. Now, if you're being tested on almost all tests by the federal government, at least all tests for like safety sensitive employees, truck drivers, pilots, people by the federal government that need to be tested, it's always going to be the 50 nanogram per milliliter. They don't just start with the 15 nanogram per milliliter cutoff. They have 7 to 9 days. I said between 1 and 2 weeks. So that's right in that estimate. So this, so far, so good. Don't get confused here. don't get scared by this 15 nanograms per milliliter cutoff. That's the confirmatory test. So to be clear, on most tests, and again, I'm an expert in the federal tests, you have to fail the 50 nanogram per milliliter test in order to be tested at 15 nanograms per milliliter. They don't even use the 15 nanograms per milliliter test unless you fail the 50 nanograms per milliliter test. So just go by the 50 nanograms per milliliter test. Now, if you've got a private employer, or there's some other situation where you need to be tested, just ask what's the cutoff level for THC marijuana if you're concerned about it. It will typically be 50 nanograms per milliliter. But certainly a private employer can make up any rule basically that they want. So they can test at 15 nanograms per milliliter. Let's do another example. We'll only do one more here. So far, so good though. All right, so let's put in all the same information. Now, this person is going to use multiple times a day. This is going to be a very heavy user. They've used for 2 years. They're still going to smoke. Again, this isn't going to cover all examples. I know, that's why I'm leaving the link so you can play around with this and for your own individual needs and to find out kind of the estimate for your particular situation. I'm going to keep this at medium, the dosage. I think that's just kind of be standard. And then they are going to drink, let's say on the weekends, and they are going to also smoke. And this person is going to have a poor, high fat, sugar, I guess is what they're calling it, diet. And again, when I'm calling activity level, oh, sorry, I forgot activity level, they're going to be sedentary, basically no exercise. So a sedentary person with a poor diet, my assumption is that that person is going to be overweight. They're going to have more body fat, and they're going to be able to store THC and then release it later in time longer than somebody that is fit and has a very clean diet. So is that everything in here? Yep. All right. So my estimation here is well over a month. This person is going to test positive for at least 30 days, at minimum 30 days. This person will probably test positive for 60 days, maybe even longer than that, but it's minimum here is a month. I will accept anything over a month here. A month less, I will say this is wrong. Let's hit calculate. 34 to 43 days. That's actually pretty close to right on. I promise I did not do this beforehand. I was kind of picking these things as we went along. 30 to 43 days is pretty accurate. Again, this could be up to 90 days. I have heard, again, horror stories of people quitting and testing positive over and over and over again for 30 days, for 60 days, and even up to 90 days, and a couple cases even longer. So 34 to 43 days, I would say, is a pretty good estimate, but this could certainly be longer. Again, I wouldn't worry too much about the 15 nanogram per milliliter confirmatory test. All in all, that was a pretty sick. I've got feedback. Certainly, I think we need to get body fat in here, or maybe just how overweight they are. I don't know if they were just trying to, not be offensive here, but people need to understand that the amount of body fat you're carrying matters. That's the science. So activity level matters, diet quality matters, but really those two in combination really give us an idea of how overweight the person will be. And the more overweight you are, the longer you're going to test positive, again, on your analysis. All right, that's from Exploro. The link is in the description box below. Play around with it. Leave me some feedback at the bottom about what you think. Do you think it was accurate based on your particular situation? I will definitely communicate that feedback back to Exploro. Hopefully we can keep improving and making this more and more accurate. I think this is going to be a really helpful, useful tool for people. All right, until next time, everybody, stay safe.